Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. The Porsche family's Jedi begins preparing for a counterattack against the post-war Allied powers. He steps back from the front lines of management, leaving his shares intact to systematically lay the groundwork for a comeback. He travels the world to get a comprehensive grasp of the global auto industry. He goes deep into what were once enemy territories, the US and the UK. As the old Eastern proverb goes, if you know your enemy. He also visits Italy, another powerhouse in the auto industry, as an apprentice. Here, he establishes a special connection with Giugiaro in particular. He even studies the new contender in the automotive world, Japan, to understand their trends, including the Japanese-style totalitarianism in the industry. And because he's a motorcycle enthusiast, he meticulously observes Honda and other bike manufacturers. To launch his counterattack on Volkswagen, the holding company the Allies are holding hostage, the Porsche family's Jedi sets his sights on his first target. He uses a backdoor strategy, taking aim at Audi. The plan is to attack from the bottom up, through the back door, by taking control of VW's subsidiary. Despite this, he faces intense resistance from Audi. He's a direct descendant of the founder of the parent company after all. He attempts a stolen base maneuver, trying to go from first to second, but the pressure is so intense that advancing is nearly impossible. The Porsche family's Jedi had even worked for a time at Mercedes-Benz, but the fierce opposition there led to him getting thrown out at first base. Fortunately, he had an ally at Audi. The man appointed as the successor to the head of the VW group was a person named Nordhoff, and he turned out to be an ally, because he had a close relationship with the original Porsche from when he worked at Opel. With Nordhoff's support, the Porsche family's Jedi takes down his rivals one by one, ultimately succeeding in becoming the head of Audi. He had secured a crucial forward base for the Empire's counterattack. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. If you look at how the Song dynasty managed their border tribes, they would simply crush the biggest one. Once they took out the strongest tribe, the smaller tribes would naturally keep each other in check and fight amongst themselves. Similarly, if you look at how the Turks' Ottoman Empire subdued Catholicism after destroying the Eastern Roman Empire, they did it by consolidating power. At the time, the Eastern Catholic centers of the Eastern Roman Empire were in 4 places: Byzantium, Alexandria, Egypt, Jerusalem, and Greece. The Turks consolidated authority into Greece and then only had to keep Greece in check. The other 3 centers, having fallen under Greek control, were managed automatically, which is where Greek orthodoxy comes from. In the same way, the victorious Allied powers took VW hostage, consolidated authority into VW, and put Audi and Porsche under its thumb. This allowed them to simply keep VW in check, using the same tactics as the Song dynasty and the Turks. Having seized the position of Audi's chairman, the Porsche family's Jedi, inheriting the blood of his grandfather, shows a remarkable talent for technological development. This is where Audi's motto, Vorsprung, durch Technik, progress through technology, comes from. The real challenge, however, was in cleverly developing technology without getting caught by the parent company. In fact, some technologies they had painstakingly developed were scrapped and abandoned to prevent Volkswagen from stealing them. Furthermore, Volkswagen held tight to Audi's sales rights, so it was rare for Audi to hit it big with their newly developed technology. If Audi became too successful, it would have been a problem for Volkswagen and the Allied powers. And then, in 1993, the Jedi of the Porsche family finally ascended to the position of chairman of the Volkswagen parent company. This is when the Empire's counterattack truly began. Attack the mainland, just as the Song dynasty had foolishly believed. The Mongol tribes would never invade the capital. The Allied powers didn't anticipate the Porsche family's Jedi would dare to attack the mainland, but he did. He launched a full-scale economic war against the United States. The US used every dirty trick in the book to fend off this attack. They put the blame on the Audi 5000, the US, name for the Audi 200, using the media to spread lies about fatal defects, ultimately destroying the car's reputation. But the Porsche family's Jedi wasn't about to give up. He landed a proper counterpunch against the US, an attack known as the Lopez Affair or Lopez Scandal. GM's headquarters had a genius named Lopez, their Midas touch, who was in charge of purchasing a genius from Spain. Lopez was a top brain, who played a massive role in GM's revenue generation. He was so powerful and influential that he could even demand that GM build a car factory in his home country. When GM dragged its feet on the Spanish factory, the Porsche family's Jedi used the opportunity to win over Lopez with the promise of building the factory. After a tough battle, the Porsche family's Jedi finally succeeded in recruiting Lopez. The US was absolutely stunned. The Romans were shocked beyond belief when Hannibal not only crossed the Pyrenees in Spain, but also the even more treacherous Alps, with a whole army of elephants. After the First Punic War, Rome had defeated Carthage and occupied its territory. But Hannibal, a mere son, grew up and invaded Rome to avenge his father and his homeland. His superhuman determination to cross those two massive mountain ranges was a shocking event for the Romans. The shock felt by the US at losing Lopez must have been similar to what the Romans experienced. The US wasn't just going to let it happen. Without Lopez, GM might have gone under. They filed lawsuits and used all kinds of tricks to harass the Porsche families, Jedi, and Lopez. The affair quickly escalated into a full-blown war between the US and Germany. As expected, Lopez went on to achieve great success at Volkswagen, playing a huge role in saving the struggling VW group. But the US wouldn't give up. They continued to poke, prod, and throw salt in the wounds of the man they could no longer have. And who does the US rely on for this kind of work? The CIA. In a previous history, we saw how Dr. Benjamin Lee was killed in a staged car accident because he was a thorn in the US's side. They crushed him with a large oil tanker. The US-based lawyer for Dr. Huang Wusuk was also killed in a staged car accident. Lopez was also killed in a staged car accident. Though he survived, he was so disabled that he was as good as dead. The long-suffering history of a powerless Spain was repeated, and the exhausted Volkswagen, though unfairly, ultimately paid GM a settlement, bringing the Porsche family's Jedi's counterattack to an end. Still, from 1993 to 2001, the Jedi returned as king, and by launching a counterattack against the Allied powers, he left a massive legacy in Germanizing the Volkswagen Group. The Allies can also be seen as having made a good deal. Even though their dominance weakened, they bought cheap and sold expensive. When the Porsche family's Jedi returned as king, the family used the opportunity to consolidate their shares, and they are now one step closer to regaining their former glory. And that's how this all came to be as followed.